like I feel more justified teaching it when I can
Mhm.
put science behind it, you know. I
Yeah.
am woo woo, but I don't really want this part. I don't want this to be considered woo woo, right? This is
Yeah.
and the science backs us up, you know.
Yes.
And I mean, even the dopamine itself, when we our brains at in an optimistic state are better able to learn. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
There, right?
Yeah, and I've seen that in action already. Like, it's you like, for example, I tutor right now. I tutor high school kids, and high school kids, I've tutored elementary school, I've tutored middle school, but high school kids are probably the hardest bunch to teach. And tutoring them in like the hardcore sciences, it's very interesting because they just kind of want to get through it and they don't really want to think more about like how can these concepts be applied for physics, for example. I'll give them examples about like driving because they're super excited to get their license and like, drive around town or whatever. And it's it like I can so tell that as soon as they um put emphasis on just learning about the concept as a whole and where it fits into like the whole subject matter, they do infinitely better. And it recently I actually like was thinking about this whole like, the effects of writing and everything. And it translates to math so well, or like physics even so well, because they always tell you to show your work.
Yeah.
And that it's kind of similar to journaling because you're kind of it's like a brain dump, it's you're not doing everything in your head and you're putting it on paper. Yes, it's not like you can't do it in your head. Of course you could, but it's much more beneficial to just put it on paper so you can see it all laid out there and see what's going on in your head, express it on paper, and then you're like much more likely to get things right, or in the case of journaling, be calmer and benefit your day a little bit more. And it's insane how like everything's cross curricular.
Right. Right. That's terrific. Do you ever talk to the
Yeah.
tutor about keeping a gratitude journal?
Yes, I talked to them not specifically about gratitude journaling, but about journaling in general. And I think especially around the high school time when they're taking SATs and having all these extracurricular activities and balancing. It's their first time balancing like sports and like theater, the arts and classes and college applications. It's such a weird. Hormones are going crazy. I do tell them to keep a journal, and some of them have actually started, and they really like it. They kind of keep it more as like a mini diary for themselves. So they will do some, especially when like things get really rough at school or like stuff with friends or something. They'll kind of like write it down for themselves, and they feel better about it.
Good. Good. That's
Yeah,
good. Glad that,
yeah.
because one thing I'm really excited about the book is that
Mhm.
eventually people will start this really early in their lives, and it
Yeah.
um a thing they do naturally, and organically in their own lives. So hopefully that will happen. And I was thinking about something else that you said I wanted to ask you about.
Mhm.
Um, brain dumping. Oh, shoot. I really did forget. Oh, when you and I talked for the first time,
Mhm.
and I was writing that letter, and you were still in the process of taking the test, at that point, did you already think that that might be the focus of your essays?
No, I didn't. I didn't really plan because I didn't know what kind of questions would be asked on my applications. Um, I did kind of brainstorm a couple different topics, and I think journaling was one of them. Honestly, admittedly, it wasn't at the top because there were a lot of other, like medical related experiences that I really wanted to talk about. But when
Right.
it came time for the actual essays, I was like, okay, this isn't like, yeah, sure, I volunteered and sure, I shadowed doctors and had all of these experiences, but like journaling has had a way better impact on like my courage and like my like inner strength and everything, stuff that I can actually apply to a clinical setting. So of course I'm going to talk about that over everything else. And so I kind of like wove all of my medical experiences into that a little bit, and I think it turned out way better. So I don't regret that at all. I didn't plan for it, but I'm glad that that's the way I did it, my pre-health advisors, from Drexel actually, were, like, blown away by how vulnerable I was being, and that's also definitely an effect of, journaling in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of that is going to make you be a fabulous doctor.
Oh, thank you.
you know? Well, for real, I mean, the holistic aspect and, that you'll look at the whole of the patient and not just whatever body part is coming to you with a concern, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Having, I want to go into OB, obstetrics and gynecology,
Mhm.
and kind of looking at women's health. It is so easy, when you're doing like a pelvic exam or something, to kind of look at the table and kind of match things up to different diagrams that you saw in a textbook, let's say. And like you said, you forget that there's a person on the exam table, and there's a person who may have potentially never had a pelvic exam before. They don't know what kind of goes into this, and it's a vulnerable place to be. And to kind of like talk people through that, I think kind of starts with talking yourself through certain vulnerabilities, understanding what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, and kind of articulating that, putting it into words, and actually writing it out. Makes a huge difference, and I think it's also positively impacted a lot of relationships in my life as well.